This is a Think Live Be production.
3, 2, 1. Seeking the best, being my best. Do do da 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 da. Seeking the best, seeking the best, seeking the best, 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 best.
Welcome to Seeking the Best, the podcast for growth-minded real estate agents seeking clarity, focus, and a better way forward. I'm your host, Kathryn Stelljes, and sitting across from me is my co-host, Patrick Fatika, our sound engineer, producer extraordinaire.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is weird.
It's a little strange, not to the listeners, but to us.
Well, they're going to be let in on a secret. It's a secret.
Okay.
Well, we are recording this from North Carolina.
Yeah.
And so I don't have my usual gear.
And we're sitting in different places, and it's all a little. We've been doing the podcast. We've been doing the show in the same place for quite a few years, in the same place in our house, in our studio, and I packed all the stuff up and brought my laptop, and here we are at our little cottage in North Carolina on a kind of a dreary, cool morning, and we decided, hey, let's do the next episode. So here we are.
Yeah, we're here, and it's so strange to go and do something in a different environment.
Yeah.
It's probably good practice for...
Yeah, because you're not on your home turf.
Yeah, we talked about that home field advantage recently, so I was thinking about, like, I teach and train in our office, and I'm trying to become a KWU certified, approved. Mm-hmm. I already am certified. I don't know.
Whatever.
Approved trainer, and so I'm teaching, and you have to get evaluations. And one of the things they encourage you to do is get outside of your regular training environment. And so even though this is a podcast and I don't have an actual audience or
a live audience,
or what would you call a classroom, talk setting, it's still like probably is good practice to get out of that comfort zone and talk. For sure. Talk and
so if it sounds slightly different, it's because we've got different acoustics.
Yeah,
so the room is going to be a little bit different,
bigger, and maybe taller ceiling, maybe same size, but it feels like the volume and echo might be more pronounced than in our studio.
I'll do my best. Hopefully
he is the sound engineer.
Hopefully the listeners won't notice.
We'll test your skills in that department. How about that? But we're back. We wanted to continue talking about all of these lessons that I've learned over the years, and the hard way, as we say, so that, maybe you take some little thing away from one of these episodes and you don't make the same mistake. Because like I definitely feel like in a 20-year career, so this is my 20th year in real estate, I have banged my head against the wall a lot, doing the same things, trying to figure stuff out. And my hope with the podcast and all the training and coaching that I do is that, hopefully I help somebody get there a little bit faster.
Yeah, hopefully that they get there a little faster, but also you're not alone out there. Like
know wherever you are in your career that we all experience this.
Yeah. It's
whatever it is you're feeling.
It's part of the deal, whether you knew it or not, getting into the career.
And
this is part of it.
Say it's part of it, whatever you're feeling and experiencing, and it's worth it.
Can be.
That sounded like a question mark.
It's
worth it?
Is it?
Sometimes. Some days you will feel like you're not sure if it is.
Yeah.
Like those days happen to most of us. There are those people, there are those agents where you're like, they just, I won't name any names, but there's just people where you almost feel like they're the real cold callers, like the ones who just 7 a.m. they're in the office and they're cold calling.
They're moving fast and everything.
And you almost feel like they're a robot, or like they just don't have the same empathy or something that the rest of us feel, because how could they get hung up on so much and like have all of that
and just keep going
or the rest of us are like, somebody text you and the vibe of the text is off and your day is ruined and you're spiraling out of control. That's what most of us
think
feel
what you're trying to do is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to be a oblivious robot who can't read people's emotions and empathy.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to spiral and be so empathetic and so whatever that it freezes you.
Yeah. Well, because if you're feeling, if everything makes you emotional, then that's how you'll react throughout the day and you'll never get anything done.
Right.
You'll never get anything done if you can't compartmentalize a little bit.
When one bad thing happens and that throws off your entire day, which then throws off your entire week, and all of a sudden you're spiraling, and next thing you know, you're on Indeed looking to see if there's something else.
Listen, what he just described, I've definitely done before. Like sometimes every now and then, I'm really probably pretty in the middle, where there are certain things that will really get me and it will ruin my day. But for the most part, like the day-to-day stuff doesn't bother me anymore. But there have been times in my career where I've been so frustrated with things that I've opened up Indeed or Monster or whatever, and started looking for jobs. And then you quickly realize though that, like I always say, like I have no other marketable skills. Like I've been doing this for so long that I don't have any other skills to provide except this one thing.
Right.
And so you go through these jobs and it's like, there's nothing that I can actually do except what I do. And then you also see that there is no other career that you can make this kind of money if you really put your head down and like put in the work. Like you get to decide what your income is instead of having somebody else set your salary.
Correct.
It's pretty cool. So anyways, so I've got another lesson that I hope everyone takes a little bit away from for this episode.
Okay. Do you want to get into it?
Sure. I'll tell you a little story.
All right. Tell me a story.
It was a 4th of July weekend. And, you know, you can tell when there's a holiday weekend that's about to happen because your real estate office is completely empty or there's like a few people there and they're packing up early, except for those few teams that actually have office staff. And so we were one of those teams where there was, you know, people actually in my office. And at the same time, like you feel this sort of energy building of like people want to get out of there. And I've always been, ever since I started growing a team, I always want people to leave on time. Like I never wanted my staff to live an unbalanced life. Like I was trying to, even if I didn't do it myself, I always wanted them to do that. I didn't want them to be working all night. I felt like, and I still do, you should be able to get the things done in the day that are required of you. And if you can't, then we need more people. But this holiday weekend, I remember very vividly because there was a listing that needed to go live on Monday. And so Monday was the actual holiday itself. You know, late in the afternoon, realizing that the listing was not inputted. It was not ready to go. And what that meant was that nobody would be able to do it if they didn't get it done that Friday. It wouldn't happen on Monday either because it was a holiday. And so I tell myself, well, I'll just do it. I'll just do it tomorrow, and that's fine. I know it's a holiday weekend. Everybody else is going to go home, and I'll just do it. That's fine. Just do it. So everybody leaves. I probably even let them leave a little early. I don't remember that part. Then I open my computer on Saturday and I start data entering the listing. there's no draft save. There's no preparation whatsoever that had been done. And I'm sitting there doing this listing and getting it all set and ready for Monday, and really realizing in that moment that I'm doing someone else's job. And I couldn't be mad at them because I told myself, I'll just do it. I could have said, hey, you didn't finish this. We need to either work late and you need to get it done, or you need to call the seller and tell them that it's not ready and we need to bump it a day. Something needs to happen, but it needs to be the responsibility of the person whose job it is. So I couldn't be mad at the other people who are responsible for the listing, because I didn't give them that ownership responsibility. Obviously, I found myself entering the listing, and then if you're listening to this and you've ever entered a listing, it's tedious, to get all the data entry done in the MLS, and then you have to set up the showings in showing time and how that's going to work so that if somebody requests a showing right away, that it's set and ready. And then there's other websites that you have to get the listing live, like a text for more info sign writer. And the sign's going to go in the yard. There's a whole checklist of things that have to happen that are, when you have a team, it's somebody's job to do all of these things. And when you have a team, it's never the job of the lead agent. That's what the other people were hired to do. And yet there I was, 4th of July weekend, on my back porch, putting in a listing, setting up the showings, putting in the text for more info, uploading photos, reordering them, making sure everything was set and ready to go for Monday. And this is not the only time that happened. There are many, many similar situations where I can think of where I'm doing a job at 7:00 at night, writing an addendum for a situation that should have been resolved earlier in the day. And I always look internally in these situations and say, what should I have done differently? And it's always about leadership, because it's not like a simple, I should have just told them this in that moment. It's about giving people responsibility and having them understand this is your job and you own this. You own the outcome of this. And we don't share the task. It's not like whoever's available to do it is going to do it. That's how I operated for a really long time. When I added team members, it was like, if they didn't have time to do it, I would do it. I was the redundancy. I was the person you ask all the questions. I know all the answers. I'm the bottleneck to my own business. And I think I probably felt like, and I still do sometimes, I feel like in those moments, I'm protecting them and their life because they shouldn't have to work late to finish something, or I'm protecting the client because we told them we were going to do this and I don't want to let the client down. So I don't want my assistant or my transaction coordinator calling them with this bad news. So I'll just do it instead. But every time I make that decision, I'm just continuing this broken system where I am the person who has to oversee and do everything. We're just constantly patching it and saying, this didn't get done. And so instead of fixing the system that would allow it to get done on time and proactively, instead of fixing it, I'm just going to patch it by doing the work myself. and everything looks good. Like from the outside, like the client's happy, their home got listed on time. And, you know, my team members went home and had an awesome 4th of July weekend and felt good about it. But every time I do that, I build a little bit more of a cage of my own business where I'm trapped, constantly having to go behind and do the things that other people didn't finish, because I've created an environment where we're sharing the same job instead of having these distinct job responsibilities. And responsibility is the key word there. It's not just a set of tasks. When you hire leverage, you're hiring someone to take on that responsibility of whether it's a listing or a closing coordination. So I still struggle with this. I'm getting better. But I think anybody that's sort of like the type A personality has these challenges where you often think, well, I can do it faster. Or, well, I'll just help out this one time and get it done. It'll be really quick. Instead of saying, what happens when I do this? What environment am I creating? What habits am I allowing to be okay in my business?
Yeah, sharing. Like, so yeah. What I hear when I hear that story is this is, we're going way back in the real estate career on this. And it's setting a tone that we're all on a team and we're all doing this together, instead of the hierarchy of, you are my employee and I am paying you to do this job. And if you don't do the job, you're no longer the employee. Not, hey, when you fall down, I'll help you up. And when I fall down, you help me up. Because that's not a hierarchy. That's not the way that you run a business. A business needs a leader, and it needs a person in control, and it needs a person making decisions. And it's real easy to hire somebody and be like, we're in this together. Now, technically you are, and there's elements of that in every relationship and in every team, but having that hierarchy there, I always think of that episode of Mad Men when Peggy is saying, well, I just wanted to hear a thank you. And he's like, that's what the money is for. Like, I'm paying you to do this job, to leverage this. This is your responsibility. I'm paying you to take responsibility off my plate. If I have to follow you around, or I'm jumping in and fixing, or I'm jumping in and completing your job, you are not taking any of that responsibility off my plate. It's always in the back of my head.
Well, And I totally get what you're saying, but it's coming from this place of the employee. Like when you hire somebody,
what you just said, employee.
But hold on, let me finish.
Versus, it's like people are team members, but they are also employees.
Yes. But what I'm saying is, the way that story unfolds in Mad Men is, it's like you're assuming that the employee knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And yes. What I'm saying is, often in leadership, we don't provide that clarity because we create an environment. Yeah. And when I say we, I'm talking about myself here. Yeah. I created an environment where people thought that I needed to see everything, that I needed to answer everything, that I needed to be the one to
like that all of the job duties were yours and they were helping you.
Yes. And also, I think just using the word assistant does imply that, yes. By the way.
Everything is mine to do, and you as my assistant are here to help me.
Yeah.
It means that if I go home or I don't do this, or Kathryn will take care of it.
Yeah.
Oh, Kathryn will finish it.
There's so many times. So let me just say this and then we'll kind of get back on track. Like there's so many times where I've seen, and I've had good people like there's, this is not, and as I said, this is a clarity of leadership lesson and understanding what that role is for me as a leader, not about the employees themselves.
Correct.
But there's so many times where I had gone home at night and then I would be like,
you can get frustrated at them because you're not seeing that the problem lies with you. It takes reflection to be able to see that that's what's going on.
But what would happen, because again, that's just one story that I remember, but I would go home at night and I see overdue tasks in the system.
Right.
And your initial reaction is like, well, that's unacceptable. Like, do the tasks when they're due. But if I really look at things now from a leadership perspective, is number one, there's something there that they thought they were waiting on me to handle.
Boy, yeah, I've heard that a bunch.
And so every time
I finish this, this is done. So give it a check over and then let me know. And then you're too busy to check it and it sits there in a folder and then everyone forgets about it and it never gets implemented.
There's that too, for sure. But I mean, the situation is what happens is you start as a solo agent. Every single person, unless you join a team, you get your real estate license and you become a solo agent. Like that's the trajectory from license to hanging your license. And you immediately are technically a business owner, but you're really just an entrepreneur trying to figure out like, how do I get sales so I can make money? And you do that until you have enough sales where you feel like I can't do any more. But yet I don't want to just remain stagnant, or you feel like you have no free time. And so your next step is to look for leverage. But this term leverage is kind of the same thing as like using the word assistant. It's like leverage means it's like lever, like it's something that helps you achieve something. But it doesn't really clarify that that person needs to have clearly defined roles and responsibilities that they completely own the outcomes of. And
that's the other big takeaway is not even just owning, but what does that even mean to them?
Yeah.
Like has the idea of what those are nice buzzwords that you hear in business, right? This is yours. You own this. Mm-hmm. But what does that really mean? If you, especially to somebody who doesn't really have a grasp of how it's that maybe that thing is connected to another part of the business that they don't own.
Yeah.
Right. And all of that, or they're still trying to understand how the business works because you hired somebody that really doesn't have any real estate experience.
Well, and this is the other part of this is that I think I always assumed that things would move faster when it came to hiring. And what I mean by that is like you hire somebody and then in like 90 days, they know what they're doing. But the reality is they know barely anything in 90 days.
Yeah.
And what they know is maybe a series of tasks
Correct.
that you handed to them that they can do. But if they have any question, if there's anything that is divergent from the simplest
order of tasks that they've been doing,
they're not going to know how to do it
because they don't know how it's actually connected to anything. They just know how to do the series of tasks. If you I've said this before, I don't know if I've said it on the show, but if you put somebody on an assembly line and their job is to put a manifold for a car together, that doesn't mean they know how to build a car, and it doesn't mean they even understand that what they're building is for a car, right? So they don't understand how that works, how the piece that they're working on is integrated to anything. They're really good at doing that one thing, but if you say, okay, I want you to now work instead, I want you to work on this engine. They're like, what? Mm-hmm. Right? Even though they've been working on this one piece of the car, they don't know how everything is connected together. And so to learn how a real estate business works as an admin is going to take years of absorbing so that they can make a decision when all of a sudden something comes up that isn't in the normal steps of the day to day. And when I say take years. It can take years for you and for them to where you can trust that they're going to make the right decision.
Well, and
right. And that's why it's so hard to let go, because you know how much there is. And so how do you let go of that?
Well, especially once you get to a point where you feel like you need an assistant and you need leverage, you've probably been at least in real estate for a few years. In my case, I didn't hire my first assistant until I was probably 8 to 10 years. 8 years.
Yeah. The first few, as listeners don't really,
they don't count because they were just like in and out. Yeah. But when you get to that point, you're probably at least a few years into the business at the earliest. And so you're not really that busy. Like, you are busy. Just hear me out. You're probably not doing enough sales to where they're going to have a consistent stream of the same activities to where they can really learn it quickly.
Right.
Now, if you grow a large team and then you go to hire an admin today, well, then you've got this flow of consistent business that's and systems and training that person can get trained up real fast. Okay. Yeah. But not when you're hiring your first admin. You've hit your limit. Last year you did 22 sales and you're like, I'm going to hire somebody. I see my business is growing. I can't do any more business than 22 sales to the level and still keep up with my lead gen. So I'm going to hire someone. Well, 22 sales, you get started. Let's say you have a little bit of a slower start because you're training somebody. And instead of 22 sales the following year, you did 18. Right. So how is that assistant over 18 sales going to learn everything that they need to learn, do it enough times that it's embedded in them so that you can walk away and be like, they'll take care of it. They'll own it. That sounds pretty daunting. Yeah. So and then I think when we're talking about listings or closings, when we're talking about sales specifically, an assistant can do a lot of different things and they can take ownership of other tasks before they take ownership of those.
Of course.
But I think the issue is that when you hire that first admin, at least for me, like I had training. You guys, like I have the stuff. I had systems before I hired an admin because I'm like, I am a detail-oriented, careful business, like system builder myself. We were talking
about last night, she's a careful risk taker, right? But she's
calculated
risk taker. So she didn't do her first hiring until she had systems in place that they should follow.
Yes, because even though they tell you like, well, your admin will help you build those systems, I was like, no, thank you.
I'll build them for them to use. And it's why you didn't hire your first assistant until 10 years in.
Yeah.
Because you didn't feel comfortable hiring somebody and then them getting hired and you not being able to say, I know everything about everything that there is to do when it comes to this, your assistant job. You didn't want to look like you didn't know what you were doing. So you made sure you knew everything about what that job would be before you hired them, where a lot of people don't do that. They're like, well, I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go. Kathryn, you'll never hear those words come out of Kathryn's mouth.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with either way. I really don't. Like,
it's just who you are as a person.
Like I wanted to have something to train on. And so I had systems in place and a lot of that stuff is still used today. And then once we started adding other people though, we had to figure out how to scale up some of those things that just didn't make sense for more than one person. But in the training process, something that crossed my mind a lot over the years and still a struggle that I work with all the time is that I say it would just be faster if I do it myself.
Yeah.
Like I still to this day think
it would be faster. I know it'd be right and I won't have to check it.
Yeah. And it is true. You'll do it faster. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to rewire your brain and say,
yeah.
But in the long run,
you're also an all or nothing person.
Thank you.
No, it's true. I mean, any listener for any length of time knows that. Like you will. What's the best way to kind of put this? Like if they can't do it 100%, it's easy for you to say, oh, then I'll just do it myself. Because if I have to get in there anyway, I might as well just do it.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Versus, well, their job, but they're still saving you time. Even if you have to look over it, even if you have to put a button on it at the end, they still did 85% of it. And that saved you 85% of that time. And even if so instead of it might take you 15 minutes to put a button on it and check their work. But if you would have had to do it all yourself, it would have taken 45 minutes. So yes, you think you saved time because you saved the hassle of having to check someone else's work. And you're like, well, I already got in the pool. I might as well go under the water. And it's like, but you only went into your ankles. It's like, you're okay. Like you don't have to they still saved you a half an hour.
Yes. What happens, let me just talk through this for a second.
Okay.
Because I can imagine myself in all of these different scenarios because there's plenty of times where I have slowed down and said, okay, I'm just going to have them do it and review it. And I give them some instruction and then let them do it. It's just at that moment, the instructions were still not clear enough, because then it still has to come back to you for more than a quick review. I would find myself rewriting things or reordering things because it wasn't like they weren't really clear on how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it maybe still saved me 50 or 60% of the time, but that didn't seem like enough for the reward.
Right.
And so
because what you're talking about is the knowing it's taking up space in the back of your head, knowing that you still are going to have to do something with whatever this is, and you have no idea how much.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't just turn it off and be like, they're going to do it. They're going to take care of it. They own it. It's like, they're going to do some of it. I'm not sure how much. I'm not sure if it's going to be right. I'm going to have to do it. Is it going to take me 5 minutes? Is it going to take me 15 minutes? I don't know. All of that stuff in your head at all times is exhausting. And it's like, I'll just do it myself.
And what you're describing is sort of this struggle that you start to have, that it's kind of time blocking related. Yeah. It's like, where do I fit in the time so if I'm supposed to be lead generating in the morning and then the afternoons are supposed to be appointments, that's what your job is supposed to look like, assuming you have leverage. Like as a solo agent, you're going to have some admin time in there because you're going to have to do the paperwork and the filing and all the stuff that happens behind the scenes if you don't have leverage. So once you hire the leverage, okay, they're supposed to do that. So then you're lead generating and going on appointments. But of course, they don't know how to do anything at first. So for the first year, you do still have to have blocked out time to meet with them and go over stuff. But what you're describing is this uncertainty of like, okay, when do I do that? And how much time do I need for that? Because I'm not sure. I don't know what they need. Like you become a manager. You become a manager, a trainer. As soon as you start to add people to your team, you're no longer solo. So you have this other responsibility and a different job outline yourself. And so I think what we fail to do is like really write that out and say, here's my new job. Now I do it now, like when I hire people and yeah. I've shifted it around. Like as I went backwards and got rid of some people, I had to move my job duties around again. So I do it now, but back then I didn't know what I was doing. So I didn't change my job, and I should have. My job remained the exact same for several years.
And then you piled on.
And then I had this other person who was just like helping with the job.
Yeah.
Instead of like saying, you can't see me because this is a podcast, but I'm like moving. I'm imagining myself. Here's a column in a spreadsheet of my responsibilities as a solo agent. And I'm like moving over the things that now become the admin's responsibility. Mm-hmm. And there's actually a spreadsheet for this. It's like the tasks of MREA. It's a task list. I think there's like 192 or something on the list. And it says priority or extra for each level of your business. And so if you look at that spreadsheet and you look at what are the job responsibilities of the admin and what are the job responsibilities of the agent. And then you need to understand that, yes, they need training on those responsibilities, but you treat them as here's instruction, and then I'm going to check your work later. And then at the end of 30 days, I'm going to make sure that you understand these specific things so that I know you're on the right track to, in 90 days, 120 days, own these responsibilities. But then comes in life and business and time blocking. Right. And it's like,
and urgency.
So like, for example, I said earlier, the listing thing. So
we have to get,
that in my mind, that listing had to get done. And I didn't want to look bad to the client. This isn't a
teachable moment or a learning experience that we're going to, it's like, I have to get this done.
Yeah, it felt like I had to get it done. So what ended up happening though is then that person, and this wasn't a new person, but let's just say they were, then they lost out on the opportunity to learn how to do a listing.
And they're saying, and you're teaching them, if I don't finish, Kathryn will finish it for me.
Yes, if I don't finish my job for the day, I still clock out at 5.
Creates a dynamic of, I'm just a helper.
Yeah, I clock out at 5. Whatever doesn't get done, Kathryn cleans up over the weekend, and then we start again on Monday.
Where it's like, yes. Right.
So the other thing, besides like me thinking I could just do it faster, which I think is what most of us experience when we start hiring is because it's true. And so you think it's true, you do it, you fulfill this cycle of you constantly being the one who's going to do it. It suddenly becomes your job because you're like, I'll just do it. Well, okay, but it sounds like that's not my job. That's what the person's saying. No, it sounds like that's their job.
Like I said, you're setting up a dynamic of, well, if I'm just too busy and I don't have time for it, Kathryn will do it. I'm just her helper.
Yeah.
There's no ownership. There's no structure. And that
also creates a situation where they think they can be just too busy to complete all of the tasks instead of giving them the ability to make a decision about how to run priorities. Like they never learn how to prioritize because they do the things that are easiest to them that don't require asking questions. Those get done. And then anything that requires additional assistance doesn't get done because Kathryn's too busy. And then Kathryn has to do it on the weekend. Well, then it becomes Kathryn's job.
Yeah. And especially if it's not a task. Like a checklist task, if it's a thing that where there's multiple steps and something needs to be thought out and then brought to Kathryn and then back to that's how things get lost.
I think there's something there with like, this doesn't have to be true. What I'm about to say does not have to be true, but I think you need to be prepared for it and be okay with it. Is when you come and hire somebody and bring somebody on for the first time. Like you have to be a little bit okay with going backwards for a bit in terms of sales units.
Right.
And I'm not saying that has to happen. Mm-hmm. You can hire a talented person, train them and do it all and hustle. I'm not saying that has to happen that way, but I'm just saying be prepared that you're going to suddenly be working 2 jobs. Mm-hmm. And so what does that mean? You're going to have to put in some more time and effort, or if you don't want to do that, but you want additional help, well, then you're going to probably lose some sales while you get that person up and running. You can't have.
It's called a rebuilding year.
Right.
It's like, that's what that is. It's like, that's a nice way of saying you're going to take a hit because. And
it's a decision.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it at the time, but like I
thought we would just hire and just keep moving.
Yeah.
But
and I don't think that I went backwards in my first year of hiring. There was a period of time that I went backwards when I hired my first real buyer's agent.
Sure.
That's a different conversation.
Yeah, that's a totally different thing.
It's not related to training and hiring and talent. Like I do believe that you just need to realize that, okay, you've just taken on a second job, which means you are going to have to work later hours and stuff like that. But that also means that you probably should set expectations with the admin person that, they might have to work a little bit longer hours because that's when you'll be available to like sit down with them and do things.
Especially at the beginning.
Just at the beginning. Like we've got to get things going and get a rhythm going.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I wanted to get into is that and again, I think this is my personality type, but I think other people can resonate that I don't want things to be done wrong. Like, I have a really hard time when mistakes are made. Now, listen, this whole season is about all the mistakes that I've made, but this is me looking back.
You're talking, most important when we're talking about mistakes made, client-facing mistakes.
Client-facing mistakes. And I'm talking about the simplest little thing. For myself, I'm this crazy. Like, if there's a typo in an email, I cringe. Mm-hmm. I still do. Like, to this day, when I'll read an email that somebody has written for me, and it's fine. It's completely fine, but it's not exactly the way that I would have worded it, or it like is missing some piece. Like, maybe the person asked a question and in my mind, the answer wasn't fully there. Mm-hmm. And so it's just going to lead to another question and answer response.
Another set of email.
And I'll cringe a little bit. But instead of doing anything about it, you just kind of like, either you go in and you fix it, or you start taking back over the job instead of stopping and like sitting down with them and giving them more instruction on how to manage.
That's what being a manager
things.
Is.
I know.
That's what being a business owner is. That's what having a team is doing those things.
But truly, you don't think about that or even realize that when you go to hire your first assistant. You're just like, I'm busy. I need help. I'm losing my mind. This person knows how to type, or maybe they don't. I don't know. I didn't really qualify them properly.
If you can't identify the problem and then vocalize what that problem is in a teachable, non-confrontational way, you're probably not going to be very good at this part of it, and you're going to have to learn and take classes. It's why there's so many people out there that are terrible bosses. There's a movie, multiple ones, called Horrible Bosses. It's because they aren't skilled in seeing a problem, talking to their employees about what that problem is, and then getting that problem fixed in a way that is that the employee feels appreciated and that they have ownership.
Well, so that's another thing. We won't really get into it in this episode, but that is something like difficult conversations, providing maybe constructive criticism and having difficult conversations is not a strength that most people have.
No, they've never had to do it before. And people avoid conflict.
Yeah, most people avoid.
You can't avoid conflict if you're a business owner and things aren't working the way that they're supposed to work. That's your job as a business owner, is to have those tough conversations so that everybody's doing things the way they're supposed to be doing them.
But like I said, when you avoid those conversations, all you're doing is like kind of digging a deeper hole of you being responsible for whatever, let's say whatever that situation is, that you don't like the way it's being done.
So you just take it back.
You take it back and you dig a deeper hole into this life where you don't really have leverage. You have all of the job responsibilities you regularly had as a solo agent. You just have somebody kind of doing part-time stuff that helps and does save some time. If that's what you want, by the way, I guess that's okay, but that's not really what most people want, because they want to be able to take a step away from their business, and go. So right now we're in North Carolina. You want to be able to go on a trip and not be tied to your computer or phone. The only way you can have that in your life is to have real leverage where the person on the other end owns the outcomes.
Right. Taking the responsibility. So you want to take a quick one?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break.
If you're enjoying this episode and want more ways to seek your best, not just in your business, but in how you spend your time and energy, there are a few easy places to connect with us beyond the podcast.
Over on YouTube, you can find us at Seeking the Best Pod. We share full episodes of the show, short coaching clips, reviews of real estate products, and tips on building a real estate business that actually works in real life. We post videos on Thursday mornings.
Or find us on Instagram at On Seeking the Best. There we post behind the scene moments, short practical tips, and some of the real unfiltered stuff that doesn't always make it into the show.
And if you're looking for episode supplements like the Candy Bag, where Kat posts more in-depth ideas that we discuss on the episodes, head to onseekingthebest.com. You can learn more about us, buy some Seeking the Best merch, or send us a question that we'll answer on the show.
However you connect with us, thanks for being here and keep seeking your best.
And we're back.
So what happened over time, though, is like you start to build these resentments towards your business. It even can show up towards the people that you work with. And you're the one who created the environment, but you're still frustrated with the other people that they didn't like figure it out on their own.
Right.
But so then you're upset with yourself because you're like, I know I need to take responsibility for this, but I'm also annoyed that I have to.
You said, oh, I'll just do that myself. I'm taking this back. And then they go, okay. And then you're like, well, why didn't they do it?
Why didn't they say, no, it's my job? Yeah. You can't expect that of people. And so I became the bottleneck to my business. And like, I created an environment where I don't think that people could think independently. It's not that they always needed me, but like for any kind of anything.
You didn't let people own it. You created an environment where everybody was a helper for you, and therefore everything needed to go by you in order for things to continue. And most of the time, not a big deal, but when it's a multi-step thing and it all ends up back in Kathryn's inbox, and in order for them to take their next step, she needs to approve or say, change this or whatever, then one busy day. And
so let me fast forward a little bit for the sake of time. Is like, so first I hired, my first admin was just part-time, and then grow. A few years later, I had a buyer's agent, 3 admin, a showing partner, and was hiring other buyer's agents, some of which didn't work, but like came in and came out. So there, at any given point, there was probably 6
to 8.
Yeah. And if all of those people need to talk to you and are sort of reporting to you
for every decision that gets made,
it's overwhelming. So even though you have help and they do have things that they're doing and they're doing well, you still are overwhelmed with all these other people because they're not actually doing everything.
Or the other question is, hey, Kat, do you want me to do XYZ?
Yeah. Oh, that's a big one we didn't actually talk about, but asking if it's okay to do something that would be the job of that person.
Right.
You don't need to ask to do the job, but yet again, it's not their fault. Mm-hmm. One thing that I started, so this was an evolution of leadership too. Like who I am today is not who I was 10 years ago, but when I started to build a team and was in that mode of like that, like let's say 5 to 8 people, I did start to grow in that department. I haven't just like always been this static thing of doing
so
things
you
that
figure
way.
out, it's what led you here.
Yeah. And so I would start to have these conversations with my lead admin, which I think were really helpful, where I would say like, so here's a difficult situation that you're going to have to deal with. What's the worst that could happen? What's the worst thing they could say? So I would like sort of practice with her, because I want you to have ownership of this outcome. Well, what if something difficult comes up? Then I would feel like I would need to come to you and have clarification of what I need to do next. I would need your permission. So we would say, what's the worst they could say? What's the worst that could happen in that situation? Then we'd talk through it. Mm-hmm. And we would do that like here and there. And so over time, first of all, I think
to build confidence, you mean?
Confidence that, hey, you do know admin? The answer.
Right. Oh, right.
And
right,
you
right.
can take action.
Right.
And
you
but I think it did two things. I think it built confidence in the admin, but also confidence in me that for me,
that they knew what they were doing.
They did know the answer and they could handle it.
Right.
So it's kind of served two purposes.
It's like, how many years are you going to have those training wheels on the bicycle?
Yeah.
It's like, you're 13 years old. You don't need the training wheels, but I don't know how to ride the bike.
Yeah.
It's like, well, until you take the training wheels off and you'll never know.
Yeah.
You know?
And you have to start to let go of, I think becoming busy helps with that. Like the busier you are, the less you have time to worry about if they make a small mistake, you know? So just go sell more houses is really the end answer to all of your problems in every situation. But I think also having like systems in place for like how things are going to go will create less questions and less bottlenecks. And some of the things that I still struggle with are these things that I don't think are clearly systematized, like who's responsible for what. The things that I think do well are.
What do you suggest for somebody who's doing this the first time, they're hiring their first assistant? What do you suggest? Like you just said, like prioritize whose jobs are what and stuff. What is the best way to kind of do that? Is that like in the MREA, or are there other places that people can find? Like I've got all of this giant list of job duties and I don't know really like what do I give to an assistant to do and have them have full ownership over, or just partial ownership? Like how do I start this giant process?
Well, so I mean, I think a good exercise would be to write down everything. If you're hiring your first admin, is write down everything you do. Like as small and minute as it can be. Now you can also go download that task list. I think it's on Keller Inc. You can go download that because it's a big list of our jobs. And I used that and I started to break things down, because here's the other thing. It's your business. If you're really good and you want to hold on to a job duty that is listed as somebody else's as the team builds out, you're allowed to do that. It's your business, right? Like I don't actually ever have my assistants do a CMA, but many people do.
Right.
And it is time consuming and I probably should, but I don't. I do that part of my listing prep, and then they have other responsibilities to get the other things ready.
You start with maybe that page on Keller Inc. and then you can kind of hone it to what your strengths and weaknesses are. Yeah.
Well, so like, for example, something that's not on there because it was written a long time ago is like social media management. Okay. Right. So like, think about what goes into that.
What you would like to have go into.
Or what you'd like to. Like if that's part of your business, what things have to happen?
What parts
the content
don't you
planning, is that you, is that the assistant, the actual posting, the scheduling, the videos, if you're making video, like who's responsible for each of those things? And only through like really thinking about who's responsible can you have a clear then system of, I do this by this date. Like if you're going to make a video, for example, well, you can't hold somebody else's job up if you didn't have time to make the video.
Right. So, well, I've seen that happen too.
And it's still, I'm specifically talking about this right now because this is stuff.
Because we do.
There's an email newsletter that needs to go out that is currently waiting for me.
Right. Because Kathryn does a market update video.
Yeah.
And the assistant, her admin, puts it together and then sends it out. Well, she can't put it together and send it out if Kathryn hasn't done the video.
Yeah.
Right.
But here's the thing. And I'm talking this out loud. I'm not saying if my assistant is listening, this is not what we're necessarily doing, but I think this is a good practice. Is there's got to be like a backup plan. Don't ever not send something because you're waiting on me.
Right.
The backup plan is you put something else in and it still goes out, because what's more important is the consistent effort of the marketing piece or the social media thing or whatever. Don't hold up the plan and the system waiting for somebody else.
It just sits. Because then it just sits there.
But you have to have like,
and then might not go out.
It's more important. Trust.
And we have to remember, like on those kinds of things, that's a touch. So if we don't send it out without the video, then we just miss the touch. And then these are math equations, these touches. So what's more important, the touch or the video being done? The touches. Yeah. And so, but they need to have clarity, and I mean your team members that you've hired, they need to know that it's okay. So like some other examples are, so we're in North Carolina right now.
I told my assistant, if somebody needs to see property, here's the name of a person that said they would show property for me while I'm gone. You're able to pay them this amount per door. I do not want to know about it.
Right.
Unless those people want to write an offer.
Or they want to see 700 houses.
Right. So you're allowed to spend this much money.
Right.
So in the same thing, like you could give your closing coordinator, give them autonomy to make a decision. So what does that look like? If there's an issue at the walkthrough, you are allowed to fix the issue up to X number of dollars.
Right.
I had done that with my last assistant who was primarily a transaction coordinator, but she had sort of started to fit whatever I needed her to when I started changing my team structure. But she started...
And having that responsibility frees up their anxieties as well.
Yes, they just want to solve the problem. Right. They really do. So that's the other part that I've had to learn is like the people that you hire, they just want to do a good job. And so if they don't know how to do a good job, like what does that look like? Then they live in sort of this state of anxiety of like, oh, this is due, but I can't, but Kathryn hasn't said what to do. What should we do? And that's
worse. That's
not fair to them. They were all just living in this state of anxiety all the time. Which again, I still struggle with because I am still training a new admin. And so it's like I'm starting all over. This is my rebuilding year. And so in starting all over, I have to remind myself my job duties as a manager and boss because I forgot. Like I've said this before, but I heard somewhere and it always sticks with me that people forget their job duties every 90 days. That applies to us too. And
it's also having somebody new. It's like you were talking about the previous person that you gave the autonomy to just go, you can spend this much money on repairs if during the walkthrough, if whatever, all of that stuff. Once somebody is really familiar and really in it and stuff, there isn't as much of having to have those conversations because they've lasted long enough at the role that they're doing really well. So there's no need for them. So when you hire the new person, you have to remember, oh, this is a brand new person.
Yeah.
So I have to start over. I haven't done this in a while.
Yeah.
Having to from the beginning and stuff. I can't treat this person like they've been here forever and expect that they're going to just know what it is that I want.
Well, and I think if you're listening to this and you do have team members, but you feel like this sounds familiar, how do I change it after I've got people in place? Like, I do think you can at any moment, and this took years of me convincing myself this, I think at any moment you can decide I'm going to do things differently and then go do things differently.
Yeah, that took a long time because it's like because you didn't want to look like you didn't know what you were doing.
Maybe it was that, but it was more like...
To just say, hold on a second.
Like, let me just be honest. Like, I used to be afraid to make changes in my own business because I was afraid like it would make other people uncomfortable. How stupid is that? But that's the truth is like you don't want to lose people once you've got them. And so this is a different conversation too, but like maybe you change your standards, like because somebody's not meeting them.
Yeah.
And so actually that is change, but you're like making them feel more comfortable so that you don't have to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But when you say it out loud, but that's sometimes things that we do. But so through all of this experience of having people come in and out and changing my business over the years to grow and then recede back, what I've learned and things that I'm working on and doing differently is just a reminder every day. I have to have this little reminder that this other person has a job to do and they own the outcome of the job, not me. Like I've delegated those things and I have to be okay with how they make those decisions. Now I'm going to set clear instructions and give them parameters. So that's the second part of it, is making sure they understand what success looks like when they've achieved the outcome and being really clear on like the money example, like you're able to fix this. Like you make the decision. Do not come to me unless it's a problem that's more expensive than X or whatever.
Right. That's the parameter.
Give them parameters and then give them some sort of framework of, if you really aren't sure, like how to know when to come to me versus when to handle it.
Right. Otherwise, they're going to come to you for everything.
Yeah. And then understanding, and this takes so much from me, but that mistakes are going to happen. And you just gotta. She's
biting her tongue while she says it. It's so hard for her.
Fists are clenched really tight.
Yeah.
I like to be right. I am a high CD. I like to be right.
You'd rather be right. What was it?
Well, what was it? My area of opportunity is to not be worried about being right, but be more worried about being effective.
Effective and efficient. Yeah.
And I get that. And I work on that daily. Mistakes are going to happen.
Yeah.
Then your job becomes, and their job becomes, like making sure everybody's okay.
When you get to be seventh level or right before seventh level, your job is just to fix everyone's mistakes. Because you have a lot of people working for you, and your job isn't to go on listing appointments anymore. There's somebody else doing all of those things. Your job is to just fix people's mistakes, just put out fires. That's the job that you grow towards until you can. And then the last thing before you step out of the business and the team is running by itself is somebody else doing that job of putting out fires.
Well, and it's more than just putting out fires. But if you think about the job of like a broker, it's like, what is most of their time spent is like handling issues with the agents that work in their office.
Or on the phone with the lawyer. We're fixing this.
They've hired a productivity coach, a team leader to handle all of the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And then they have to deal with the issues that come back.
Yeah.
But so let me get back on track because I easily am distracted. So my last thing that I'm working on and what I've learned is that being constantly accessible is part of the problem.
Yeah.
And I still struggle with this. So when I first hired my first assistant, we worked from our home and we had a little guest house, and I had somebody that came and actually worked from the office. Now that was like part-time and she did not last long. But as I grew, I moved into the Keller Williams office and I worked side by side with my assistant. Mm-hmm. And so I created that environment pretty quickly of like, we're in this together.
Yeah. You work right next to each other.
And as we grew, there were more people. And so I was like trying to find a seat for myself, and I would be out of the office more. And then they were handling things. And then I actually got my own office space downstairs, and the staff worked upstairs.
Right. Separate office.
And I was separate. And so things ran more smooth. That was that time period where I was still making leadership mistakes, of course, and we'll talk more about some of those in other episodes. But the accessibility of me always needing to be there to answer questions,
turn around and go, whatever. People get used to. I'll just turn around and ask Kathryn the question.
Yeah. So
instead of figuring out the answer on their own.
Exactly. Because what in their mind, and they probably didn't even realize it at the time, is it's faster to ask Kathryn than to go research it and figure it out myself. Yeah. Or to go search in Google Drive for the video.
Kathryn just said 3 minutes ago, it's really easy for her to get off track.
Yeah.
So what do you think happens to Kathryn when there's 4 people asking her questions all day?
So we had like a pretty good structure at one point where the staff was upstairs, I was downstairs, and things were running because there were structured check-ins and there was a hierarchy. The transaction coordinator and marketing assistant reported to the director of operations. The director of operations and me had separate meetings, and we had meetings for a one-on-one for her growth and goals. And then we had a separate meeting for the actual operations of the business. And we had structured check-in times so that I knew what was going on. Mm-hmm. The important stuff, but the small stuff was happening behind the scenes. And I think going backwards, but like as if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that I did go back to being a solo agent last year. I had started to strip down the year before.
Yeah, starting over.
And the one admin that I kept and we kept going, she retired last year. And it took me a really long time to find a new hire. So I went back to being a solo agent. And I probably got more done in the sense that I didn't have somebody there like distracting me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it wasn't what we said earlier in the episode. Scalable. It takes time to train.
Yeah.
Right. So when it takes time to train, that means other things that you're supposed to be doing aren't being done.
Well, so now I have a new admin who's been with me a little while, but still in training. And we moved into a new office and we're in the same office space. And so I'm realizing and having to remind myself what happened years ago, which is I'm constantly accessible. Mm-hmm. And am I creating that same environment? Now, I think I've learned enough that I've set some boundaries and I'm setting these parameters. Like I said, I left town. I feel confident and comfortable.
Yeah.
But I still think that
I think being aware of it is the most important thing. And you do make an effort to, I don't need to go into the office today to work. Everything that I need to do, I can do from here. So I'm not going to.
Yeah.
But to help create an independence faster.
And that's something that a coach told me once is like be gone more often.
Yeah.
Because when you're gone, it forces them to have to figure things out. On their own.
And guess what? That's the best way to learn.
And by the way, like, I think that that's what people want too.
Yeah.
Like we think that they want like us to sit there and go through it, but I actually think that they'd prefer to figure it out on their own. Yeah. But it gives us anxiety as business owners. Like, well, what if they don't figure it out or they get it wrong? And so those kind of things you have to sort of let go of and
be okay with it.
Have training in place, have videos and resources for them to watch.
But know that there's going to be mistakes made and be okay look, we can fix whatever the problem is. We can fix it.
Yeah, there isn't anything that's not fixable. And that took years to reprogram my brain.
Right.
Make it simple. Your best move that you can use, not a grind. It's a tip that saves you time. Your best move.
All right, it's time for this week's best move. One simple, smart thing to focus on this week, not a giant to-do list, not something that takes hours, just one move that actually helps move your business forward. And this week is review a past listing that didn't sell. You'll turn experience into better decisions.
Yeah, I think, reviewing why it didn't sell. Was it a pricing issue? And then thinking through, like, how many price reductions did you ask for? What was your plan for that? And realizing that maybe you didn't have one and you let the seller tell you how much they wanted. That's often the issue. But so then what dialogues can you practice to have a better outcome next time?
Right.
But I think you can also, I don't have that many expired listings. I'm not bragging. But I don't actually have that many. I could probably count on two hands how many expired or withdrawn listings over my career.
Yeah.
But I do remember one in particular, and it was, I'll make this short because I know we're running long on time. We were supposed to list, this was years ago, so the price I think was supposed to be $299, and at the last minute he said, I want to list for $319.
No.
And
that's why it didn't sell.
I'm sure I said something. I'm sure we had a conversation, but it was not the conversation that Kathryn today would have.
Yeah, he wanted the commission to be covered in the cost.
So we raised the price, and then he never would lower it. Mm-hmm. He never lowered it. And so it expired. And so I go back to that particular one, and I remember that sometimes as a reminder that when somebody wants to change the price before you go live, it's usually because they've now like painted and done some things, and they think like they're like, oh, it looks so good.
Oh, it's much nicer now. Yeah.
It's usually that. And so I think you have to ask them some questions and poke some holes in their thought process and get them back to, well, you know, what has changed in the last 2 weeks that you think would cause it to have increased in value? I like to use percentages too, besides just the dollar amount. Mm-hmm. So like $20,000 at that time, $20,000 on 300 is like kind of a big percentage.
Yeah, it's a huge percentage. Yeah.
What would make you think that in the last couple of weeks,
pressure wash the deck?
Or what, and not what would make you think, let me back up because I'm just spitballing, but what has changed in the market?
Right.
That would allow us to increase the price by 3% or whatever it was.
Because they'll never have an answer. It's all gut.
And so then you can help them self-realize again that, well, of course it didn't go up in value.
Yeah. Small wins So Kat, you got a small win this week?
I mean, I guess the small win is that we figure out how to record in North Carolina.
That's my small win.
Oh, okay. Well,
how about that we're just in North Carolina?
Yeah, that we're just relaxing and to tie into this episode, that I feel more at peace in this trip because I did set some parameters around some things. So I feel like even though I'm still not 100% off on vacation, because I do have some responsibilities that I have to take care of. Yeah. And my admin's still relatively new.
We're still doing the show.
We're still doing the show. Yeah. I've got things. I'm a productivity coach, so I've got calls, but that I feel that I gave good, clear expectations, and that gives me this sort of piece of
yeah, I agree. And I think the puppy's small win is that they get to sit right here next to me. So if you've heard them clip-clopping around or the shaking after they both just woke up, for some reason they both know when we're coming to the end of a episode. I don't know if it's the repetition of like the small wins and stuff like that, but even when we're at home,
they
and
know
we're
what's
wrapping
happening.
up, we can hear them starting to rustle around. It's always a little crazy. So, hey guys, for episode extras like the candy bag, ask us questions, or anything else we mentioned today, you can find it all at onseekingthebest.com. And for Kat and myself, thanks for listening, and we'll figure this all out next week.
Bye.
Fall down, get back up, keep on reaching, don't give up. Step by step, nothing less. This is how I seek the best.
This has been a Think, Live, Be production.